Guys, what I want to close out with is pretty simple. I'm going to talk about goals and goal setting. I have the 7 steps to goal setting, and I think it's going to be some valuable information to you. It's what I use, and I'm going to challenge you to do the same. You know, as I travel the country, what I find out is that most people just take what life gives them. I mean, they don't really have any plans. They just kind of take what life gives them, and they hope they end up in a good spot when the retirement years hit. Guys, let me say this on that subject. Hope is not a very good strategy for your retirement. Crossing your fingers is not a very good strategy for your retirement. You know, we would never shoot a gun and not have a target. We'd never get in the car and head out without a destination. We would not do that, but somehow people will live their life and just hope they end up in the right spot. I'm going to say we need to do it just a little bit different. I'm going to say we need to decide what we want. That's the biggest key. As I talk to people, I find that so many people don't really even know what they want out of life. They just kind of, you know, I hope it does all right, or maybe I could do this. No, guys, we've got to decide what we want, and then I'm going to challenge us to write it down, and then I'm going to challenge us to passionately pursue it. Now, let me give you a couple of examples. You know, I would never have walked into my locker room, and, you know, being a basketball coach, I would have never walked into the locker room and just said, okay, guys, go get them. Big game, district championship on the line, just go get them. I wouldn't have done that. You know what I did before a game, before big games and little games? It didn't really matter. Every game, we would study hours of film. I could tell you what the other team's star player liked to eat for lunch. I could tell you which hand he scratched his nose with. I knew everything about that other team before we ever played them. We had developed a specific game plan. We knew how we were going to attack their zone. We knew how we were going to attack their man-to-man. We knew how they were going to attack us. I knew their inbounds plays better than they knew their inbounds plays. So when I went into that locker room, I was articulating that game plan to the team for that game. And that's good. That was my job. That's what I should have been doing as a head coach. But my point is this. I don't even remember most of those games now. We spend hours getting ready for a game. Are we getting ready for our life? You know, another example that'll hit home with most of us is, well, we're going on a 2-week vacation. So we sit down and we make all the plans. We're going to stop here to eat, and then we're going to go by Aunt Agnes's, and then we're going to get to SeaWorld, and then we're going to go here and here and here. And for 2 weeks, boy, we got it scripted out. We know exactly where we're going. We know what we're doing. We're pumped up. It's all organized. We got it written down. I would submit that we spend more time, most of us, spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than we do planning our life. See, the book, What They Don't Teach You in Harvard Business School by Mark McCormick, there's a story in there that I just love. They said they took this graduating class at Harvard. It was the MBA class in 1979, and this class is fixing to graduate. So they went in and they asked this class at Harvard, what are your goals? Are they clearly defined? Have you written them down with a date for completion? So that they ask every graduating student of that MBA class in the 1979 Harvard, they asked them that question, and they found this out, that 3% had written down clearly defined goals with a date for completion, 3%. They found out that another 13% kind of had some goals in their mind, but they really weren't clearly defined and written down. And they found out that a full 84% had no goals other than I just want to graduate and get out of here. I mean, and this was at Harvard, guys. So 10 years goes by, and this study, they go back and they find each of these students. They've been out of school now for 10 years, and they measure their success levels and what they've accomplished and all that for this study. What they found out was the 13% that at least had some goals in their mind were making twice as much as that other 84%, which wasn't bad. But this is the one that blew me totally out of the water. The 3% that had written down clearly defined goals had accomplished more than the 97% combined. Is that not mind-boggling? I mean, that just blew me away, guys. And after hearing that, can I interest anyone in maybe coming up with some goals for your life? You know, here's the thing that you're going to find out, that if we don't have a plan for our life, chances are we're going to fall into someone else's plans. If we're not building our own dreams, chances are somebody's going to hire us to build their dreams. And that's what we've got to come to grips with here, is that we need some plans. I mean, if you look through history, there's always been plans, whether it's the pyramids, the skyscrapers, the Industrial Revolution, we could just go on and on. There's always been plans that people worked off of. We would never start building us a house if we didn't have some plans, would we? I think let's just pour a big old slab of concrete and get started, you know? I mean, that sounds crazy. Guys, we've got to take that same approach to building our life and building our dreams. Now, there's 4 areas that I think we need goals in: wealth, health, relationship, personal growth. Wealth, health, relationship, personal growth. That is the 4 major areas that I believe we need goals in. Now let's talk about those. Wealth, and I can see now some people are going, yeah, of course, he put money first. You know, if you think about it, guys, if we're struggling to pay the bills, struggling to make a living, if we're having to work 2 or 3 jobs, it makes it a real challenge to go after our goals and dreams, doesn't it? I mean, what we've got to understand is the money we make is going to kind of fund the other stuff. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, money's not the most important thing, but it is up there real close to oxygen, huh? I mean, if we want to think about that, when we don't have money, money gets real important, you know. I'm going to tell you, we need to get out there. And in the wealth realm, I think there's 3 areas. There's earnings, there are debt, and there's savings. Earnings, debt, and savings. Let's think about that. Let's say you're starting a new business, and you want a certain amount of profit or revenue. See, that would be earnings. You might want to have a certain number that you're shooting for. Debt, that's an easy one. If we've got debt, we want to get out of debt. And then obviously the savings ones or our personal wealth, I mean, that's a pretty easy one to figure too. You know, let me throw this out on debt, because I like to go over this because I think it's so important for us. We go out there and we start a new venture and we start making some money. I'm going to challenge each and every one of us not to just run out right then and start buying a bunch of toys. What I'm going to challenge us to do is, let's first get out of debt, okay? And the way I recommend we get out of debt, and it's how I did it, is that I listed all of my bills. And I listed them from smallest up to largest, okay? Smallest up to largest, and for most of us, our house is our largest debt. Maybe not for you, but most of us it would be. And then I got down here on this smallest bill, and I started focusing on paying that smallest bill off. Maybe $400 or $500 on some small credit card. So I'm focused on paying that off. When I get a little extra money, I throw it towards that credit card. I did everything I could come up, I'd throw it towards that credit card. And then I got that one paid off, man. And that'll pump you up, huh? I mean, you got one paid off. And then I'd take the money I had been paying on that, plus what I was paying on the next one, and start putting it all on that one. And then I start paying that one off. And then after a few weeks, few months, whatever, I get that one paid off. Now I take the money I was paying on those first 2 and I start paying it on the third. And I just keep working that same system until I get up to my house. And then I'm telling you, there is no liberating feeling like making the last payment on that house, guys. When you are totally out of debt, I'm going to tell you right now, it is something you want to experience. And the neat thing about it is we can. But we've got earnings goals, we've got get out of debt goals, and we've got our savings goals. So those are the 3 things in our health area, in our wealth area. Now, health. You've probably had family or friends, or maybe even you've suffered some health issues, and you realize real quick that nothing matters if you don't have your health. Amen or oh me on that one. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter how many zeros you got on that bank account if you don't have your health. So I'm going to challenge us all to really focus on that health goal too, guys. And I kind of look at that as kind of 2 areas. One is, what do I want to do with my body? You know, do I want to do something about my cholesterol, my blood pressure, my weight, my body fat? Whatever it is that I'm working on, I might decide I want that to be my goal. Now, if you're one of these people that you're already in real good shape, then you may have a performance goal. You may want to enter a half marathon or a marathon or a triathlon or maybe an Ironman competition. You know, I don't know. But you may have some performance type goals for your health goal. And then number 3 is relationship goals. You're going to find real quick that if your relationships are suffering, if your relationships with your spouse, with your kids, with the people in your life that you love, if that stuff's suffering, then all of a sudden everything else is a struggle. Everything else is a struggle. We also need some business relationships, and I'll talk about that as well here in just a minute. So we've got wealth goals, health goals, relationship goals, and then personal growth goals. You guys that know me know that that is one of my favorite things to talk about because, as I said earlier, you've got to understand that we don't chase success, we attract success by the person we become. And your personal growth goals could be reading one book a month, it could be listening to an audio program every week, it could be attending a seminar, it could be writing a book yourself, it could be reading the classics. Maybe you want to read the classics. I mean, I could go on and on. Anything that you do to improve yourself or something that you want to do to grow as a person, that can be a personal growth goal. So let's recap. We've got the wealth goals, we've got the health goals, we've got the relationship goals, and we've got the personal growth goals. That's the 4 areas that I think we need those goals in. Now, let's talk about our 7 steps of how we get there. Number 1 in my 7 steps to goal setting is this: decide what you want. And that seems like such a basic question, but again, so many people don't have a clue what they're really after. I challenge each of us to go out there and really write down what we want. At least one goal in each of those areas that I talked about. At least one there. You might want to have 2 goals there. And you say, well, what if I have a bunch of goals? Well, guys, we can have a bunch of goals, but I'm going to say that if we have just a million goals, then it scatters us out too much and we have a hard time getting anything accomplished. What I'm going to recommend is 1 or 2 goals in each of those areas, with one of those goals being more dominant. But decide what you want. And when I say decide what you want, it's got to be something that motivates you. I mean, if our goals are just, oh, ho-hum, you know, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if that's kind of the goals we have, we're not going to accomplish them, guys, because motivation is a big key to reaching our goals. See, I try to set big goals. I mean, I want big goals because the big goals are what motivates us. You know, I heard somebody say that, you know, don't have small dreams because they don't stir the hearts of men. And that's with us, guys. We've got to have those big goals. So decide what you want as far as your life in the 4 areas. Number 2. Your goals must be specific and measurable. Specific and measurable. And you go, well, Presley, why is that? Okay, let's think about this. Here we go. I've got a goal to work hard tomorrow. I'm going to work hard tomorrow. Sounds like a good goal, doesn't it? I'm going to work hard tomorrow. Problem is, how do we measure that? How do we know if we worked hard tomorrow or not? What if we had a goal, though, that said, I'm going to make 10 prospecting calls for new accounts? Well, then, if I've got 10 prospecting calls for new accounts, then I know whether I hit my 10 or whether I didn't hit my 10. It's specific, it's measurable. The next thing, what about if I said, I want to make more money? I hear people say that all the time. I want to make more money. Well, nothing wrong with that. Sure, we all want to make more money. But next month, we make an extra $75. Did we hit our goal? I mean, I don't know. You've got to put a specific number in there or a specific percentage or something like that. Let me give you an example. I'll give you one of my health goals. I've got a health goal. I wanted to lose 40 pounds. I have now lost about 33 of that 40 pounds. But I decided what I wanted. My health goal was to lose 40 pounds. That was one of my big goals. And I was specific and measurable. I wanted to lose 40, so I knew exactly how many pounds I was going to lose. I know right where I am. I'm at 33 right now. I got 7 more pounds to go. So it was a specific, measurable goal. And that can be in business or anything else. I'm just using that as an example. So we need those specific, measurable goals. So make sure you've got that in there, specific stuff. Number 3, we need a date for completion. We need a date for completion. If your goal is something you can just do whenever you want, You just won't do it. I mean, I won't do it. I mean, if I can just kind of, I'm trying to lose a couple of pounds. Well, 2 years from now, we're trying to lose a couple of pounds still, right? I mean, it's just like, guys, we've got to have that date for completion. The date for completion is what gives us our urgency. That's what makes this whole thing go, is the urgency that we've got a date coming. And I'll tell you, my date for losing that 40 pounds is May 25th. So I know how many days exactly I have to get those other 7 pounds off my rear, huh? So, I mean, I know my date. That's what I'm shooting for. You know, one of my wealth goals, I'm doing. I am buying a house each month and owner financing it. I want to do 12 houses this year. So I know what I want to do. I know how many houses I'm wanting to buy. I know how many I've got to sell. And I know each month I've got to do one. So I've got my specifics that I know what I'm doing. See, you got to make sure you've got that. So I've got my goal, I've got a specific goal, and I've got a date for completion on all that. Guys, we need that in our lives. That's what's going to help us do it. So, 1, we need to know what we want. 2, we need to make sure it's specific and measurable. Number 3, we need to have a date for completion. Number 4, we've got to have an action plan. I think this is the one that we miss. We all get excited about our goal and we're all pumped up about our goal, and we forget to figure out, how am I going to get there? How am I going to accomplish this goal? I mean, we've got to have the action plan that goes with it, or it's useless. And I think that's the one we tend to kind of gloss over a little bit. Guys, we want the action plan. And here's what I'm talking about. You need to write down everything that you need to do to accomplish your goal. Every task, every job, everything that you need to do to reach that big goal. Because, answer this for me. Here's a question. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you accomplish a huge goal? One task at a time. And we've got to write down our plan of action so we know what we're doing. So I'm going to write down everything I need to do to reach that goal. Then I'm going to prioritize it. And then I'm going to make sure it's in the right sequence. Is there something I need to do before I can do something else? I'm going to have all that down. Let's take an example here real quick. Losing 40 pounds. I knew I wanted to get healthier, lose 40 pounds. So my specific goal was 40 pounds. My date was May 25th. Now my action plan, here was my action plan. Rob wrote this down. It's on a pad in the back if you want to see it. It's in my briefcase so I could keep it. I'm not eating bread. I'm not eating starches. I'm not eating sweets. I'm getting to the gym a minimum of 4 times a week. And I'm getting up in the mornings and going up to Prestonwood and playing basketball at least 1 time a week. That's the 5 things I'm doing that are my specific things that are helping me lose my weight. I knew what I was doing to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. I had an action plan. You've got to have the action plan, whether it's for your wealth, health, relationship. And you go, well, how do you have relationship goals? I want to have the best relationship with my spouse possible. How do I have a relationship goal? Well, guys, it can be that I want to have the best marriage ever, and that's fine. But you got to have some specific steps. You know, for me, I want to have a great relationship with Jeannie. But what I do is I say, okay, 3 times a month, we're going to go out on a date on Friday night. It's just her and I, sweetheart date night. Here we go. You know, 3 times a month, I'm going to do that. And then about every other month, I always plan us a little weekend getaway somewhere so we can go somewhere and it just be her and I and us do some stuff. So I can have a goal of having the best relationship with my spouse I want, but I plan the steps of how I'm going to accomplish that. I want to read a relationship book, you know, at least every other month to help in that relationship. And you say, well, what about my kids? Okay, my kids. Sarah Beth's 25, Jordan's 23. I want to at least go to eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner with them by themselves 3 times a month. So I work to spend some time with them where it's just me and them, where we can talk a little bit and share and have a good time together. Some months it may be more. Some months I may be struggling to get my 3 in. But I've got a plan of action. You've got to have the plan of action. So let's talk about it again. We've got to decide what we want. We've got to make sure it's specific and measurable. We've got to have a date for completion, and we've got to have an action plan. Number 5, write everything down. Write everything down. Here's the thing about writing everything down, and this is wild. I love this. We've got this little organ in our brain about the size of a finger called a reticular cortex. reticular cortex. That little organ kind of works as a switchboard in our brain, and it routes all the information coming in through our senses to the correct location. Now, let me give you an example that we'll all relate to. We all decide to run out and get us a new Camry, okay? We go get us a new Camry. Woo! My new Camry, and I drive it off the showroom floor, and I went out and off the parking lot, and I'm sitting at the light. I've sat at this light a million times, but I'm sitting at this light again with my new car. And I start looking around going, geez, everybody's driving a Camry. Have y'all ever done that where you go, geez, or maybe it's your F-150 and you're sitting there and you go, geez, every other car is an F-150. I never noticed that, You know what that is? That's your reticular cortex. So you've put that F-150 or that Camry in your mind, and now that reticular cortex, it's activating your system up there, and all of a sudden it starts bringing all that stuff in because that's something you're focused on. Well, if we write our stuff down, then all of a sudden the act of writing it down gets our subconscious mind working, and all of a sudden our subconscious mind starts trying to figure out how we can accomplish something. It knows what our goals are, and it will start bringing in information. You'll start noticing people or information or opportunities that all of a sudden will help us with our goals because our mind is focused on that now. Now, after you've got that all written down, I challenge each of us to put a copy of it maybe on the bathroom mirror or by the computer or maybe on the refrigerator, wherever you want your goals to be, where you're going to see them on a regular basis, because if we keep refreshing our mind what we're wanting to accomplish with our lives, then all of a sudden you'll figure out that amazing things can happen. Now, I know I'm repeating myself, but do you realize repetition is the mother of all learning, huh? So let's do this. Let's go again. We need to decide what we want, number one. Number two, we need to make sure it's measurable and specific. Number three, it needs to have a date for completion. Number four, what is it? We've got to have an action plan. Guys, we've got to have that action plan. And I think that may be the most important one of the bunch, because if we skip the action plan, we don't know what we're doing. We've got to have that action plan in there, and then we're going to write everything down so that it activates our subconscious, and all of a sudden we can start accomplishing those great things in our lives. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on to number 6. We've got to take action daily. I call it the rule of 5. Every day I want you to do 5 things towards accomplishing your goals. 5 things. Now, if you got a big day and you can do more than that, that's fine. But let's think this through. We were talking about eating the elephant one bite at a time. Here's another example that I love this example. Let's say we have a big tree in our backyard and we're worried that it might be affecting our foundation. We need to get rid of this tree. Might affect our foundation, don't want foundation problems, so I need to do that. So I go buy me an axe. Buy me a nice axe. I feel like a lumberjack, and I go out there this morning and 5 swings. I take 5 swings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I stand my axe up, I go in the house and I do whatever I'm gonna do that day, go to work, whatever I'm doing. I come home, I go to sleep. I get up the next morning, put my tennis shoes on, get my gloves on, I walk out there and I pick up my axe and I take 5 more swings. Put my axe down, I go about my business. The next day I get up, put my tennis shoes on, my shorts, my gloves, go out there, take 5 swings, put the axe down, go in, go about my business. There's one thing I can promise you. I can't tell you exactly when that tree is going to fall, but I can tell you that tree will fall. At some point in time, that tree is going to fall down. We've got to understand, if every day we'll just do a little bit towards our goals, all those little steps, those little tasks, see, it's our daily disciplines that we each do in our lives that add up to our life's accomplishments. And see, that's something that I always screwed up and forgot. I was one of those guys, I want to do big stuff, but I want to do it today. And if I can't do it today, I'll forget it. I'll just go watch TV. That was kind of my attitude early on. And I realized we're not going to do a lot of great things every day. Life just doesn't work that way. But if we have our daily disciplines that we're doing each and every day, all those daily disciplines will eventually add up to our life's accomplishments. That's what's exciting about it. Guys, we can all do those daily disciplines if we want to. All right, so we're going to decide what we want. We're going to make sure it's specific and measurable. We're going to have a date for completion, an action plan. We're going to write it all down. We're going to work every day towards our goals with our rule of 5. We're going to do at least 5 things every day to accomplish those goals. And number 7, and finally, never, ever quit. You need to resolve right now that you're never going to quit. Because I'm going to say it again, guys, if we don't chase our own dreams, if we don't build our own dreams, we're going to mess around and build somebody else's for them. It is time that we build our own dreams and understand that most things in life are not about ability, it's about action. See, we can do it. You know, if you've got just a reasonable amount of intelligence, I think we can accomplish anything, because you give me a person with a reasonable amount of intelligence that they have their goals written down, and they will run circles around a genius that doesn't know what they're trying to accomplish in their life. See, we can do that, guys. Let's hit it one more time, and then I will close. We're going to decide what we want out of life. That's something I challenge each and every one of you to do before you go to bed tonight, is decide what you want out of life. Number two, make sure that your goals are specific and measurable. You got to know when you're accomplishing them. It can't be vague, it's got to be specific. Number three, the date for completion is what gives it its urgency. We've got to have that urgency in there. We've got to have a plan of action. Write down everything that you think you need to do to accomplish your goals. Guys, we can do that. We're going to eat an elephant one bite at a time. We're going to accomplish our big goals one task at a time. Then we're going to write everything down so that it'll activate our subconscious. It'll activate that reticular cortex, and all of a sudden we're thinking about stuff. We're seeing things. We may be in the shower and get a good idea because our mind is working towards that stuff right now. And then we're going to do something every day, and we're never going to quit. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about as far as goal setting, and it's more of daily goals. I call it a daily to-do list. Guys, if you're not making a daily to-do list before you go to bed at night for your next day, you're missing out. I accomplish so much more on days that I have my daily to-do list. Like tonight, before I go to bed, I'll go write down, and I'm only talking 5 or 10 minutes. I'm not saying you go do some big study, you know, you're not writing a thesis. You're just going to write down what you want to accomplish tomorrow before you go to bed, and kind of visualize what you need to get done. And then when you go to bed, what you'll find out is that your subconscious works on that stuff all night. Not you, but your subconscious will. And you'll be kind of figuring out what you need to do to get it done. And then in the morning when you wake up, you can start your day running. So you can open your eyes with a purpose and end your day with accomplishments, because you know what you've been wanting to accomplish that day. I challenge you to do that. And for me, that was tough, but here's what I challenge you to do. Just do one daily to-do list for tomorrow. And then I'm going to ask you to do it 6 more times, and you'll have a daily to-do list done for a week. And then I'm going to ask you to string 3 more weeks in there, so you'll have a month. And then what I want you to do is evaluate how much you've got accomplished by doing a daily to-do list every day. I think you'll be blown away by what you can accomplish. Guys, today is the first day of the rest of our lives. If we will start setting goals, you're going to find you can accomplish more than you ever dreamed possible. Use those 7 steps, and every day have your daily to-do list. You know, let others lead small lives, but not you. Let others argue over small things, but not you. Let others cry over small hurts, but not you. And let others leave their future in someone else's hands, but not you. I believe with all my heart there will be 2 groups of us, guys. There's going to be the group that's glad they did, and there's going to be the group that wishes they had. I hope you're in the glad they did category. God bless.